This right here, yeah, culture wheel.
Ready?
Yeah.
All right. Are you recording?
You should do like
Yeah.
you should do like
super.
in
Okay. I should do what?
like as you open up.
Oh.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I'm going to choose to talk about family since it was suggested here by Kenzie as a great example. And I grew up in a family of educators, so that's a big part of what shaped me to go into education. And not only that, my mom was a curriculum leader here for a number of years, so that's what also brought me back to Mason after I had taught other places. So that's sort of how family has shaped my identity and who I am and the choices that I've made in my career.
Now, one thing in terms of when we're talking about this culture wheel and what makes us different, I think I come to Mason from a different background. Well, we all do. I think that's one thing to keep in mind is that we all have different backgrounds.
I am 14 years old, and what it's like to be a teenager is, I feel like, for me, I feel like some people don't, older people don't get what I'm like into and don't know what it's like to be, like all the stress that you have from school and things like that, and some people just don't get you. So I mean, that's my perspective, but I'm not sure from others, so that's what I feel like.
All right. You know, as I've gotten older, I've discovered that age and age affiliation becomes more important. Because when you get to be in your 30s like me, you've had similar experiences as other people of a similar age. So we're talking about many things that you go through in life. You know, buying a house, buying a car, having kids, raising kids, paying lots of money for kids' activities, paying money for kids' colleges. And most people about my age understand that. And we have a bond with that. So I think, you know, a lot of times age affiliation has something to do with that. You know, us old people got to stick together.
Well, I'll tell you, probably you don't know, I was born in Egypt.
Really?
Yeah. Pyramids.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of far. So I came here when I was 7, and I couldn't speak English. So this is my third language. But I first spoke French, and then Arabic, and then I learned English here.
Hi, I'm Aaron Roberts. I'm a learning experience designer here at Mason High School. Diversity Wheel is kind of an interesting concept to me because though I am white, I'm college educated, I'm male, really that means a lot of privilege gets assigned to me that I did not ask for and do not deserve. But I actually come from kind of a different sort of background despite that privilege I currently enjoy. My father was an alcoholic who died when I was 14. My mom remarried an African-American man. So I was raised by an African-American man, a white mom, 5 African-American stepsisters who are all awesome. I also, we were very poor, especially for a period of time between my father dying and my stepfather coming into the picture. So we kind of had all of the trappings of having a difficult upbringing in a not so great neighborhood, but then I still got to go to a really great school at the same time. So, you know, there are a lot of pushes and pulls in my life that have helped me experience a very diverse lifetime.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about mental ability, and what I'm going to talk about is how it's shown up in my life through not only my students but also my family. So I think that I'm in my 40s, so things have changed. When I was growing up, it was never anything anybody would talk about, right? You never talked about mental health. You never talked about any kind of mental disability. It just was taboo. Now, we talk about it a lot, to a degree. Older people it's still very stigmatized, right? So a lot of older people don't talk about it, but I think we're opening up the conversation for our younger people. So for me, it's a passion of mine to make sure that we have these conversations, not only to honor the people in my life that struggle with mental illness, but also for my students.
Family, for like my culture, like the Asian side of my family, it's really big. Like we have a lot of cousins. I probably have over 50, probably everywhere. And like we always get together, and food is a big thing for us. We always make a bunch of Filipino food, like lumpia or like pancit or adobo, and just like 3 tables just like full of food, and it's all gone, and we stay the night, and it's just people everywhere. And like I remember for like New Year's and stuff, we would go watch a movie, and there were so many of us that we would rent out a whole theater room, and like there were these people who wanted to watch the movie, and they were like, 3 tickets for Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, and they were like, I'm sorry, a whole family came in here and rented the whole place out, and we walked past them, and we were like, sorry guys. So yeah, family's a big thing for us, and yeah.
So I'd like to talk about education and why it's important to me. Once you have an education, you can use it to parlay it into many different aspects of your life, and no one can take it away from you.
Defines me.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll just go with work experience, I guess. And what do you need to know about it? Like,
How does that like make you a person? Like, how does that make you you?
how does my work experience make me?
Yeah.
Oh, that could be a day long. You know, we see things that some people should never see, and it kind of makes us a little more callous to the world, but we apply that, and I think it gives us a lot more room for empathy when dealing with kids, especially juveniles, in this environment. So I think that would be one way that my work experience would make me who I am.
Okay, so I was going to talk real quick about mental and physical ability. So my kind of background is I have a master's in special education, and I worked for 2 years here as an intervention specialist. And I think one of the kind of key factors in understanding and appreciating everyone around us is recognizing or seeking out similarities rather than differences. So we need to think about, what do I have in common with the person next to me, rather than look how different they are. And instead of looking at students with either mental or physical disabilities or challenges, instead of looking at them as someone who needs our extra help, we need to look at them as a peer and an equal, and seek out ways that we can most effectively kind of interact with those individuals.
For me, I grew up in Cincinnati. I went to a Cincinnati public school. I went to a school that was very diverse in not only religion and race and economics, huge. I think that really did shape me, and that the fact that I'm one of 7 kids has probably shaped me also. Just to understand and be able to adapt and be able to, hey, if this isn't working, got to try something new.
My religion defines who I am because in my religion we aren't allowed to cut our hair, and that's our identity. And every Sunday I go to my religious place of worship, which is called the Gurudwara, and that's where we worship our God. And our holy book is called the Guru Granth Sahib, and so we read that book, and we read Gurbani, and we do Kirtan, which is a type of music. And my religion identifies and defines who I am.
There's a lot of obviously important things on there to me, but I think the thing that probably jumps out to me is family. One of the things that is near and dear to my heart is my family, my daughter, my son, my wife, obviously, and I'm lucky enough to still have both of my parents, a brother, and multiple, cousins and nieces and nephews. And our family is extremely, extremely close. We keep in contact with one another, and I think when you have a consistent family and a supportive family, it allows you to be more successful in your life. So luckily, my family unit has been very much together and intact with one another, and consistently we support one another. So although all of those things together on that wheel are important, family is the thing that jumps out to me.
Okay. I'm going to talk about national origin because I'm originally from England, and I moved here when I was about 14, and so that has impacted my life greatly. Moving to the United States, luckily they spoke the same language, so I didn't have a language barrier, which I know Some people do.
Okay, let's talk gender roles, because it's an interesting concept to me, because when I'm an older gentleman, so when I grew up, it's like women hadn't quite arrived, and I kept wondering why, but because my mom was running my house, my wife runs my house now, I've had superintendents that are females, and I still think, that whole idea about, men or this and women, I disagree with that. It will be in your lifetime, hopefully in my lifetime, that we have a female president. We might be better with women running the world, but I have always had female bosses, and I've never thought anything about it. But I think, ladies, what I tell my class is you've come a long, long way, and it's a pleasant place to be, that there is equality among the genders, and as well it should be.
A lot of how I identify with myself and other people right now, the ones that stick out to me are like age and family, because I have 3 children that are all school age. I've got 2 middle schoolers and then a 3rd grader, and so I feel like our kind of circle of people that we are in just contact with and relationship with right now has a lot to do with like where our kids are in life, and kind of hanging out with people that are the same age and have that same station in life. I feel like sometimes when you become a mom, oftentimes that's how you first identify yourself, is as a mom. So that's kind of what stuck out to me in that way.
If I had to pick one off the wheel, it would be education. Personally, my mother was a teacher. Obviously, I've become a teacher. That was a big part of our family dynamic growing up. But I also think it's a significant aspect of cross-cultural connection. Education and seeking education is something that no matter who you are or where you're from, it can elevate your current condition. It can improve socioeconomic standing. It can open up doors for you in areas that you would not otherwise have the opportunity.
Cool. All right, so I picked family. Gosh, how did family impact me growing up? I mean, I think who you are in relation to the people in your family is probably something that defines you a lot. So I was the 3rd kid of 4 in my family. And I meet a lot of people who are 3rd kids, and 3rd kids are almost always pretty creative and go with the flow. And I'm a pretty go with the flow creative person as an art teacher. So I definitely think if I look at my own kids, my 3rd kid is pretty much the same. So kind of who you are in your family and how you learn to interact with like my brother and my sisters, I think about a lot in terms of like making sure that the way I interact with people now, I learned a lot about how to interact with others based on my siblings. So yeah, I guess family was big.
Probably my religion, because like all of our like holidays and like family traditions come from it, like celebrating like Christmas, like Easter and stuff like that.
I guess my family, my parents, my dad was an attorney, still is an attorney. My mom was a school teacher. I've done both things that my parents did when they were in school growing up, still do. And so I think sometimes we're looking at this age and say, I'll never do this or I'll never do that, but it's probably a pretty good idea not to say never, because when I look at it, my brothers and sisters, they're either in the legal field or they're teaching. So I think that's how my family have impacted my life to this day.
Well, and just teaching, this is my 32nd year of teaching, and being in the classroom for that many years, you learn a lot, and you learn a lot about how experience is valuable, even though you might not feel that coming from who I work with. You know, that I tend to see that age starts to be dismissed. Like, oh, you're too old, you won't adapt, and I feel like I'm written off sometimes because of that. Like, they think that I can't try new things, and I'm totally about trying new things. They don't know me, you know. So that's what I've experienced. But it's really eye-opening to look at this wheel and and think about all those things that make everyone different. We're all different, and that's cool. It's okay. It's okay to be different, and everybody brings something to the table, and that's important to keep in mind.
So, Miss B, give them an A+. They're awesome.